Do my bedtime routine with me while I tell you a little story. It's prophetic, I promise. Do you like the three little pigs growing up? So did I. It was my favorite story that my sister would tell me as a little girl. And when you grow up in a house that's not super safe, sometimes it's not your parents that make you feel safe, it's your siblings. Ironically, I just finished working on a new book, and in that book is a devotional about the two little pigs, not the three little pigs. And it was a story about my sister and how she made me feel so safe. Well, if you know me, you know that I am a preacher, I'm a pastor, and I've been a pastoral counselor for a pretty long time, and I've been a pastor for about 22 years, because sometimes I forget that I'm going to be 40 here pretty soon. Don't tell anybody that. I mean, you can. Anyway, but in a long, far away galaxy, I remember being this little girl and thinking that my sister was the safest thing and that it kept me safe everywhere she was. And that wasn't super fair, because growing up should be celebrated, and I didn't really get to celebrate my sister growing up because I was afraid that she'd move out, my stories would stop, my safety would be gone. Here's why I reminded you that I'm a pastoral counselor. If you're a client of mine, especially in the virtual office, you've heard me talk about this app called Finch. No, I'm not affiliated. I just really love them, and they trick you into taking care of yourself. Well, the more that you do and the more you take care of your little bird, it's kind of like a Tamagotchi, but in a really fun, childlike, cute way. And the more that you take care of it, the more adventures you go on with it, the more you learn about it. And when it asks you a question, when the bird comes back from an adventure, it'll ask you a question about what it learned while it was away from you. Well, mine today asked me what the meaning of the story, The Three Little Pigs, was. Well, immediately I say, no way. Yes way, because that's how the Holy Spirit works. And you had two options. One is, it's always good to have friends around you that can keep you safe. And two was, make sure you build things the right way. That's not how I would answer a client. I would actually have answered that, I'm really glad that you had friends around and you guys can keep each other safe. Do you know what the bird says? Well, your bird begins to take on the characteristics of your own personality. And no surprise here, my bird is mostly compassionate and mostly curious. That makes a lot of sense to me. So it gained like 5 compassionate points as it spoke back to me. I'm so glad that those two pigs had another friend that had a brick house so that they would be safe. To tie it up with a little red bow, I was sitting here listening to Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. This is a song that I sing when I'm trying to remind myself that we got this, that I'm built on a firm foundation, that I didn't build this house on sinking sand. As for me and my house, ask my kids, they'll finish that. We will serve the Lord. And my favorite way that the Holy Spirit shows up is in these little things where it couldn't be anything short of God, because it may feel like coincidence to you, but with God there's no coincidences, especially when it's been something that you have been thinking about, something that God knows and really nobody else knows yet. Nobody knows this story yet but me, my sister, my mama, and my editor. But the person who knows that story best is the Lord. So here's what I wanted to tell you tonight before I lay down and I check out for the day. Is one, if you're built on a firm foundation, everything is going to be just fine. And that firm foundation will always be Jesus Christ. 2, my bird is smarter than me, and I really love that it come back and said, I'm so glad that those 2 pigs knew somebody with a brick house. So am I. And God really is a brick house. Anyway, so whatever it is that you're concerned about tonight, give your cares to the Lord. Give your time to the Lord. And if you don't know how to lay it down, just keep going back to the foot of the cross until you feel better, or push until something happens, as we say. Pray until something happens. Do what you got to do, but just rest in the Lord, be still and know that when your foundation is built on God, this thing can't go any other way but good in the end, because He has good plans for you, I promise. So from one little pig to another, I'm really glad that you know somebody with a brick house. I'm really glad. If you ever need us through the week, come see me in my virtual office. I'd love to talk to you. And if you are having a hard day today, go download that little app. I really think that it would be beneficial to you if you're struggling right now with anxiety or self-talk, or even just taking care of yourself and not everyone else, and leaving yourself on the very end of the back burner. Remember, you're the head and not the tail. You're above and not below, and all those good things. All right. Good night.